All right, you're good to go, Aaron.
Oh, thanks. After that intro, I feel like I should have like just something great to say, but that was awfully nice of Christina. Thank you for that. So I am glad to be with you tonight. I am sorry that I couldn't be there for SDW1. It would have been nice to get to, meet you there and be part of your first time together as a team, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. So, as Christina said, and with some help, but I put together the facilitator guide for family groups. So, when we get to SDW2 and then as camp starts, I am your person for family group. And I want you to know that that's what I want to be for you. So, if you have questions, if you're not sure of something, please, please, please say, Aaron, help me with this, or what does this mean, or how do I do this? Like Christina said, we tested a lot of the activities. So some of you actually may know me as an adult advisor for years. In fact, Jameer has been the leader for our team meetings. So I want you to know that I work with students outside of Teen Institute. So I really enjoy this kind of interaction with students, and I love camp in most every capacity. So um, I, I just know you can come ask me some questions. Um, Getting into kind of what to expect. So you've seen the facilitator guide and you went through the sessions at SDW1. And just to kind of generally be on the same page, you know that the intent behind family group is to bring together, the participants are split up from their own team, right? So family group consists of, participants from different teams, and this is a chance for them to meet new people and build friendships and some of that bonding that my teams that I have always brought to Teen Institute, they come home saying that was their favorite part. So to get to be involved in creating that content was really an honor to me because it's something my kids have always thought so much of, my students. So when you look at the guide, hopefully that's what you see, when you go through the activities. The intent behind it is to build relationships. And when we get to SDW2, we'll spend some time kind of looking behind the scenes, is what I'm calling it. But there's some things that I want you to see in terms of how the sessions are put together, why things are in a particular order, kind of some tips for making it the best possible experience that it can be for you and for the participants, because sometimes it can be tough. I mean, and I know that, and it can be tough, and it's a lot to take on. So I want you to kind of see what the reasoning is for some things and why things are set up a certain way. So during Teen Institute, on day one, there's an evening session, and then day two and day three, there's a morning and an evening session. And then day four wraps up with just a morning session. So just to kind of know, how many sessions to prepare for. And one thing that's different, so those of you who are returning, show me again, who is returning staff? Youth staff who will be leading family. Okay, so we'll talk more about this at SDW2, but in the past, you've had to carry your supplies with you, right? So you had a big bag, all the things you needed for all of the activities. So this year, there's going to be a team that will deliver your supplies to you. You're going to have a bag of just general basic pens, pencils, caboodle cards, a couple of things that you might need in that you certainly will need in family group, but that you might also need in other sessions, different things, workshops and team meetings. So you'll have a bag of general supplies, but the supplies that are needed for the specific activities in each family group session will be delivered to your room. So, and a little bit of setup done for that, so that when you come in, you're able to really focus on greeting participants. You know, check in with them. How are they doing? You know, where have they just come from? How did that go for them? Some of the relationship building that we want you to be able to establish with them, and not have to feel so frantic to make sure your room is set up in the way that you need it to be to then lead the activity. So you're going to have some behind the scenes help this year that we're real excited about. You'll get more information on that. At SDW2, you will go through the family group sessions again, like you did at SDW1. You'll be split into 2 family groups. However, this time you will be responsible for leading the activities. And so what will happen is all of the activities will go in a bucket, and we'll pass the bucket around and, you know, draw out 1, maybe 2, depending on number of staff and, you know, how all that breaks down. But you will be leading at least 1 activity, 1 component of a family group session. You'll be leading that at SDW2, so with staff, and you'll be leading it individually. I know once GTI starts, you'll have a co-facilitator, but in terms of so timeout, I'm doing this in my daughter's room, and she needs to come in and get something. So here's a little real life moment. Mom of a teenager. Hey. So we'll take a pause break. We can speculate what she's getting. I don't know. Oh, shoes. I really need to. So if you ever think I'm real serious, I'm not. Might come off that way, but I'm not. Back to SDW2. You will need to be prepared to lead that whatever activity you draw out of the bucket. You're going to need to be prepared to lead that individually. Okay, so don't go into it thinking I'm going to know who my co-facilitator is and we're going to plan that out together. That will happen later in the weekend. But going into leading these sessions, leading the activities, you'll lead it individually. We'll give you a couple more pieces about SDW2, and then we'll pause and just see what questions there are. Okay. When we have the family group, when we go through the family group sessions that you'll be leading, you're going to be in 2 rooms kind of across the hall from each other, so that I can observe and float back and forth between the groups. And we'll spend a few minutes at the beginning of those sessions and a few minutes at the end kind of talking about tips, recommendations, kind of some suggestions that I think might help you in terms of leading particular components. And then at the end, we'll come back and talk about, you know, observations, questions that you might have, feedback you can give each other. I want you to know that the questions you submitted for homework, those were sent to me, and what I did was just print all of them, and I've got a stack, and I've gone through and, you know, attached those to the appropriate session. So when we get to, as we go through the sessions, any questions that were sent in, those will get covered there, so that everybody gets the same information at the same time. And hopefully that keeps us all kind of cohesive, and, you know, everybody's got the same understanding or the same idea of what it is we're trying to do with a particular activity or with a particular session. So let me pause. Any questions, comments? Anything you need to know? Burning questions? Somehow, does anybody watch Ellen? And Ellen, you know, the burning questions thing that she does with her guests. If not, check that out. Any questions?
I don't think I've got anything that I want to ask.
Adam, can you say that again I don't think we could hear you. Just maybe closer to the microphone.
Sorry, I just don't think there's anything I have to add.
Okay, cool.
Did I give you a great shot of my hair? Was that leaning in? I don't know why. I mean, the microphone's down here. I don't know why I'm leaning into this. Okay. All right. So on my little notes that I typed out, the next thing I had was just to say to you that I'm here to help you, that truly, literally, it is my job. And I'm really, really excited about that. And I've shared that with you already. I don't want to keep us longer just repeating, but please know that questions, comments, whatever, feel free to ask me. And also know, Christina mentioned this, that we tested the activities. So that's not to say that something, might still not go a little sideways on you, but I hope that going into it, knowing that these have been tested with high school students, middle school students, that will give you some comfort that we've kind of anticipated how they reacted. We definitely made some changes based on things that sounded good on paper but didn't translate very well in real life. Even things with how to introduce an activity, the collaborative drawing. If you've looked at that one, the one where your paper is folded into 3 pieces, that is the simplest activity. But I got so tongue-tied trying to set that up when I first came across it. And I thought, oh, this will be fun. We'll do this. Well, I tested it with a group of students, and I did such a poor job explaining it that I was like, okay, I gotta try this again. I gotta make some notes and try it again. So I had another opportunity a week or so later, tested it again, and got better at explaining it. So on that note, if something reads a little tricky to you, get some friends and say, hey, I need to just say this out loud. I need to just practice this out loud. Because sometimes it reads, you read it on paper, you're like, oh, that'll be easy. But translating it into actually explaining it and getting everybody on the same page with you can be a little tricky sometimes. So I understand from Michael's call with the team meetings that one of the things he did that was really beneficial was to give returning staff the opportunity to share advice with new staff. And I thought that was a great idea and wanted to take a few minutes to do the same thing here. So any of our returning staff, what advice do you have in regards to family group for our new folks?
All right. So I remember whenever I was doing family group, I would always be running late on time, or I would feel really frantic because we didn't get one thing done, but we're already so behind on this other thing, and we had to have something in by dinner and all this other stuff. So I remember I was really frantic trying to get everything done on a timely basis. But also you have to know that the participants won't know that. So it's kind of just if you're running late, but you don't really have to go through everything step by step, just make sure to get the main point across. So that's the main thing that I learned. You don't have to be so detail oriented as I was.
Great advice. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Alana.
Hi. Okay. I would just like to say one thing that I do every year is even though it says 10 minutes for this, maybe 5 minutes, 15 minutes for this, I'll actually write out what time that would be and finish for the different activities, just to make sure that if I see that time, then I can actually see it on my watch and know that I'm on schedule, or that, okay, it's getting ready to wrap this up. And then just making sure that sometimes when things don't always go as planned, that you can improvise, and also knowing that you don't have to ask every debrief question, or engaging your group to see if you can ask deeper questions, or if you want to be more surface level.
Yes, excellent. Absolutely. And at the time, that's something that I find helpful too when I have a timeline that I have to keep. If I know exactly what time 10 minutes from now is, then that can be helpful because then you can just glance at your watch and you know if you're on time, you know, if you're on track or not in regards to time. Excellent. What else? How about Jameer? There you go.
For me, I would say try to get in the option of like sitting in different places, like every time y'all meet up, because it kind of helps the conversation flow a little more, and it kind of get them somebody different to sit by. Because after they find that one person in family group, they constantly sit by them.
Yep.
So try to give them like a different option to sit by somebody different every day, or every time we like meet up or at dinner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that we will cover at SDW2 is talking about ways to help groups do that, because sometimes adults are notorious for saying, find somebody you don't know and go partner with them. I mean, I don't want to do that. I'm grown. You know, we just, sometimes we make that sound like it's so easy. But that can make people uncomfortable. And so finding ways to help your groups interact with each other that doesn't feel so forced can be a wonderful thing. And it's not that hard. There's just, you know, a couple of little tricks. I certainly don't know them all, but there are a couple that are built into the sessions. And we're gonna pull that out and highlight it and talk about that some. But yes, Jameer, you're right. It's like once we find that one person, you know, it's like the lunchroom at school, right? You go back to the same seat. You know, we just find that one spot. Adults do that when we go to trainings or meetings. You know, we find that one spot at the table and we stay in that exact same spot. And I was in a training for about a week back in January, and same people every day for 5 days, and somebody got my seat on day 2. And I was like, oh, don't you know the rules? Don't you know you don't change seats? Like, I mean, we're locked in till Friday. You don't do that. So we obviously it was fine, and I found another seat. But internally, right, that created a little anxiety for me because now I had to find a different seat, which belonged to someone else, not belonged, but that someone else had sat in the day before. So they were going to come in and think, oh, somebody's in my seat. You know, it was this whole chain reaction. So there are definitely ways to do that. And it helps your group to really get to know each other as opposed to just knowing who's on their left and right. Excellent point. Anything else that we want to pull out? And then we're gonna flip flop it and let our new folks ask a question if you have one. Anything else from our returners? All right, so those of you who are joining us for the first time this year, any questions that you have, either for me, for Christina or Paula, or for returning staff?
So I guess this isn't a question about family group, but basically what is youth staff doing during like times that we're not facilitating, like free time and stuff like that?
So lots of things, but I'm going to defer to Paula or Christina, whichever of them want to jump in, because they have a wider view of the roles. My view is very narrow because it's very specific to youth staff. I do know that you will be, so everybody attends general sessions. If you look at the schedule, you can kind of see, you know, what your day looks like. Everybody will attend general sessions. You will lead your family group sessions. You will be assigned to team meetings. I don't think you have as much of a facilitator role in that, but you'll be present in the room and you'll be assisting. During workshops and free times, you'll be assigned to a location. So you're kind of on duty from dusk till dawn, but not necessarily leading or presenting or talking in front of the group. But your day will be very much assigned for your
Okay.
Christina or Paula, what do
You
we
did
need?
great with that. I mean, I'm like looking at the schedule as you went, and Aaron really did cover. You know, there's things that you lead or facilitate, like teams and family, or you have jobs like free time. You might be assigned to basketball or whatever. And then there's things that you do just like everybody else does, like go to the dining hall and eat a meal, go to the general sessions, participate in the evening activities that we're doing. All of those things we will cover at SDW2. We will cover what are your responsibilities while you're in the dining hall, what are your responsibilities in a general session. So we'll go over all that. You will also be given a little schedule that will fit into your name tag that literally tells you every single session of the day where you are supposed to be, so you will know. And hopefully, occasionally, there's a little break.
Occasionally. But Kayla, you will, that's a wonderful thing that God does, is you will have a very good structure, and you'll have very clear instructions and direction for where to be. That's, you don't have that yet, but you will.
Okay.
And that will,
Thank you.
yes, you'll find that very helpful. Other questions? So I mentioned before the questions that you submitted with your homework. I've just held on to those because we're really fortunate that we're going to get to go through those sessions and be able to talk some before and after and answer questions and just help everybody get as much information and clarity and, you know, build your comfort level on that. So rather than sending back answers to those questions individually to each individual person, rather than responding individually, I just held on to them so that we can talk through them as a group, and then everybody gets the same information at the same time. And if there's, you know, a follow-up question, then you get that information too. Because, you know, my goal is to get you as comfortable and ready for this as absolutely possible. Christina, anything else that we need to touch on or go over? Or Paula, anything else we need to?
I don't think so. You could, if anybody's got a specific kind of question, you know, they can hang on for a minute and just ask Aaron or one of us. But I don't have anything else other than get some good rest before next weekend.
Yes. Come ready.
Oh, wait. I think Manal has something.
Okay. It's not really family group related, but you said that you were recording this one. So where could I find like the recording of the team meetings one?
Great question. They will be emailed out tomorrow.
Okay.
So as soon as we're done with this one, it takes us a minute to get them downloaded and uploaded and into the emails, but you'll get an email, a GTI Gab email tomorrow, and in the to-do list, the links will be right there and you can watch them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great question.
All right, everybody, if you think of something between now and then, just reach out either through the guide staff. They can get you to me by email or however, and then I will see you next weekend.
Thank y'all for coming. See you next weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.